Living with the land. Our journey begins as dramatic and sudden changes are sweeping over the land. The approaching storm may seem violent and destructive to us, but to nature, it's a new beginning in the cycle of life. Beneath the surface of the land, roots trap water from the flowing mud, extracting precious nutrients and minerals. These elements, when combined with sunlight, create the diverse living systems of our planet. One of those living systems is the rainforest, home to the most amazing concentration of life on our planet. These dense and beautiful forests cover only a tiny portion of the Earth's surface, but they contain more than half of its plant and animal species. Rainforests are also extremely rich and productive living systems, providing us with oxygen, food, medicines, and other elements essential to our lives. In the desert, nature has created a very different but no less beautiful living system. And while this arid landscape may seem lifeless, it is very much alive. The plants and animals that have learned to survive in these harsh conditions make use of what little water they can find and avoid the scorching rays of the relentless sun. The American prairie once appeared as desolate as the desert, but over time, rainwater and nutrients gradually penetrated the hard surface of this land. Even the hooves of the mighty buffalo helped create the rich soil that would one day become home to the American farm. Of all the forces at work on the land, humans have had one of the most profound effects. The need to produce food for a growing world led to the enormous use, and sometimes overuse, of the land. In our search for more efficient ways to grow food, we often fail to realize the impact of our methods. Today, we're learning to live with the land, discovering better ways to grow food that will assure both human and environmental well-being. In Saudi Arabia and Mexico, we're learning to produce food on desert seacoasts by developing and planting crops that thrive on saltwater. Here at Epcot, we're learning to reduce the need for pesticides by using natural predators like ladybugs and wasps to control pests. In Japan, we're learning that by adding composted leaves and other plant material to our soil, we can reduce the need for fertilizers. Farmlands across America, we're learning how will we meet tomorrow's growing needs for food production, yet still respect the needs of the land? Some of the answers are being discovered just ahead.
Hello again, everyone. I'll be taking you through one of the most exciting and innovative areas in all of Epcot. Here in our living laboratories, scientists from Epcot, the Department of Agriculture, NASA, Department of Energy, and Nestle are exploring innovative and sustainable methods of food production. Now you'll see some of the world's most important food crops growing right here in our tropics greenhouse. For example, on both sides of the boat you'll see cacao. It's the plant source for chocolate. And we're saving valuable space by growing coconuts next to the cacao and sweet potatoes beneath them. This is called intercropping, growing 2 or more crops in the same space at the same time. And on your left, you'll see the papaya. Shavings from the unripened green papaya fruit can be used to produce papain, which is a meat tenderizer. Now, rice is an essential food crop for more than half the world's population. In the terraces to your right, we're exploring ways to grow rice more productively. So we grow rice and peanuts in the same space but at different times. This is called crop rotation. The crops are switched after the harvest. Now, the nitrogen left in the soil from the peanuts provides a natural fertilizer for next year's rice crop. And from the roots of the cassava plant, which you'll see on both sides of the boat, is where we get tapioca. And on your right, you'll see the loofah gourd. That's where we get our loofah sponge. Now, our crops are growing in sterilized sand. The plants get their nutrients through drip irrigation. It's just another way that we're studying how we can best use our natural resources while preserving the environment. Now, when I mention farming, you probably don't think about fish. But fish farming or aquaculture can produce tons of fish in a small aqua cell such as this one. For instance, the pacu that you'll see on the right requires very little protein and they do excellent in crowded conditions. Now, systems like these allow us to raise fish even in the harshest of climates, maybe even the desert. By the way, the bass, tilapia, and catfish that you'll see in the aqua cell are often featured in our restaurants here at Walt Disney World. Over on your right, you'll see the American alligator. They're no longer an endangered species. In fact, there are over 1 million of them in Florida. Many of them are raised on farms for their meats and hides, while others play a key role in our wetlands conservation. Here in the aqua tubes, you can get a better look at some of the other fish. On the bottom, you'll see the American eel. It takes about 10 pounds of food to get just 1 pound of eel. All told, we raise about 6,500 pounds of fish a year in this aqua cell. Now, our next laboratory is a tempered greenhouse, where a computer-controlled drip irrigation system delivers just the right amount of water and nutrients to the roots of the plants through the black tubes that you see in the sand. And the dwarf sunflowers that you see on the right grow to a height of about 4 feet, and the seeds are used for sunflower oil. Also on your right, you'll see our citrus, which is high in vitamin C. You may want to look at our 9-pound lemons. And a little farther up on the right, you'll see clover. Now, clover is a legume, which means it takes nitrogen from the air and converts it into a natural fertilizer. So the sorghum growing beside it receives free nitrogen through intercropping. When you buy fertilizer, the nitrogen is what you're really paying for. Now, this is our production greenhouse where you'll see our string gardens. By growing these cucumbers vertically, we're able to grow more food in less space. Vertical growing also allows better airflow through the leaves and reduces disease. We've also reduced the amount of water and nutrients to the plants in this greenhouse by about 70% using a computer control device that was developed at the land. It senses when the plant needs water and provides it automatically. And on the A-frames above the lettuce, you'll see Malabar. Now, the young tender tips of Malabar taste like asparagus and the leaves taste like spinach. And the lettuce growing beneath is being grown through hydroponics. Each year, pests destroy 1/3 of our crops worldwide. Here at the land, we're using integrated pest management. Our first line of defense is the use of disease-resistant plants, such as tomatoes and peppers. We also release predator insects to eat aphids and other plant-eating insects. Now, techniques like these help us to reduce the use of pesticides by about 60%. And over on your left, you'll see our robot. It's working with Epcot and the Department of Energy scientists to learn more about the growth cycle of our plants. It gathers important data 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And our last laboratory is a creative greenhouse where we're using aeroponics, another way to grow plants without using soil. On both sides of the boat, you'll see A-frames with lettuce in them. There's about 700 plants in those A-frames. If we'd use that same space and plant them flat on the ground, we could only plant about 100 plants in that same area. And the column pots have 35 plants in them. There's no soil involved at all. The nutrients are spaded at the top and the excess just drips out the bottom. And look at the exposed roots on the squash. They get the oxygen that they need from the air, and they get their water and nutrients as they pass through those mist boxes. Now, biotechnology is a new and exciting tool for medicine and agriculture. Here in our biotech lab, our scientists are working with the Department of Agriculture to develop better plants through genetic engineering. And these growing systems are identical to the ones at the Kennedy Space Center. Now, space explorers will not only rely on plants for their food, but to recycle the oxygen and water as they need it. And we're also working with scientists from Nestle on ways to retain the freshness of the fruits and vegetables after the harvest. So as you can see, there's a lot we can learn from science and nature about living with the land. The laboratories that you've seen today are just part of the story. Once harvested, the crops need to be handled with care on their journey from the field to the table. Now, around the globe, scientists from Nestle and other organizations are dedicated to improving the quality and taste of food that the world enjoys and relies on. Working together, we can preserve the land as a precious and beautiful resource while still meeting the needs of a growing world. Only then will we truly be living with the land.